Hi Marwan, how are you?
Archie, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you finding quarantine, everything?
Yeah, it's been good. It's a bit boring, of course, but I think I've adapted. I've adapted to the quarantine now, and been enjoying it a bit. It's good to get some relaxing time and some time away from everything. From the competitions, from everything. Now you can just kind of spend some time on your own
Mm-hmm.
and relax a bit, maybe do something new to you to make your life a little bit interesting. But apart from that, it's been quite, it's just different, it's just different, it's new,
I
but
mean, it's
it's
new for
quite,
everyone, isn't it? Yeah. So,
yeah, you don't know what to expect, right? You don't know when you're going to play again, you don't know when everything will get back to normal again, so so you just kind of have to wait and see. But yeah, I've been actually enjoying it a little bit. I've been doing a bit of reading, a bit of cooking. Sometimes, spending
nice.
more time in the kitchen. I have never done that before in my life, so it's something new. Sometimes I go for walks. I go, of course, try to keep to maintain my try to maintain my fitness, and I go for like half an hour run every day. I do a bit of core work, so it's just you just try to maintain your fitness level as much as you can.
How has it been making that transition from, traveling every day to being
To be
stuck
to
in
be
one
locked
place?
in your room.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, well, I don't know. I guess it's the same for everyone. I mean, it's quite enjoyable just waking up every day, every morning, and the fact that you can just go back to sleep again is actually quite. It's been quite enjoyable. It's
Yeah.
been quite different. It's quite different. You can just wake up. During the season, you wake up every morning.
Mm-hmm.
You have to train. There is always something to chase.
Mm-hmm.
You have a competition coming up, so you need to train hard. You're thinking of, I don't know, you're thinking of squash. You're thinking of life pressure.
Mm.
But now you can just wake up and literally just, you have no pressure. You have it's like a relief. It's the
Mm.
first time I can wake up not having anything to chase, not having really. I don't really have to train. I can just maybe just go for a run just for my mental health, but I'm not training specifically for my squash or anything. So you can kind of just maintain the level maintain the fitness level. That's the only thing I'm doing. But apart from that, I'm just enjoying it, and I'm just enjoying life with no pressure, just for the time being.
Age were you when you first started playing squash?
I started playing squash when I was 8 years old in my hometown in Alexandria. And this is where it all started for me, So I started playing squash when I was 8. But to be honest, I used to when I was 7 or 6, I used to go to the squash courts anyway because my brother was training, so I used to go with him. So I used to kind of just mess around in the squash court, just hold the squash racket, try to hit the squash ball.
Mm.
But I would say I took it more serious when I was 8. I started to have more one-to-one sessions with a squash coach, and it started from there. Yeah.
When you look back at your time as a junior, what aspect did you look to enjoy the most?
Well, I think in juniors I had different phases. I don't think I think it was all. Every phase was different than the other. I think when I was young, I kind of didn't really train hard. I didn't commit to it as much as I do now. I think I kind of played the sport just for the sake of playing a sport. I don't think I've taken it so serious. I was still a good junior. I think in the under 13 category, in the under 15 category, I was still like a top five. I would say top five in my category, but I wouldn't say I was a top junior. I wouldn't at the time. I wasn't really very good. But I think so. I was just kind of just training just for the sake of. I was kind of using squash probably when I was young to make friends and stuff like that. I wouldn't say I took it that serious, but I think the turning point was when I moved to England when I was 14 years of age. And I think that was a turning point for me. I think I took squash way more serious because when I moved to England, I felt like I had to take a lot of responsibility. I left my friends and family and everyone, back in Egypt. So I felt at that time, okay, well, I have to take things more serious. I have to take education more serious, squash more serious, and and give myself a chance. And I think 3 years later, I won my first World Juniors, and then I won my second World Juniors, and then I ended up having a very successful junior career. But I did train hard. When I went to Millfield School, and I remember waking up 6 o'clock in the morning, doing my solo practice before school started, and then I think I used to do 3 sessions a day. Even when I was at school. So it was really hard to make time for squash when you're at school, but I was still able to make it. And I think we had a good setup in Millfield. The squash. We had 6 squash courts there. We had a nice gym, and it's all in campus, so it was all easy to do. Still, you have to do the training, which is hard, but everything was just around you. Like the gym, the squash courts, everything, the track, the swimming pool, everything was there. Even the classes were there. Everything was just in one place, and it was all 2 minutes walk, 2 minutes walk to anything I wanted. So everything around me was perfect, to be honest. So I just had to do the training, and I'm glad it worked. Of course, having Jonah Barrington at midfield at that time, and having Ian Thomas, who I had a really close relationship with, and who was actually Ian was probably one of the reasons why I had a very successful junior career.
Mm-hmm. And what was it like making that big life step at such a young age, from moving from Egypt to England?
I mean, it was a massive change for me and my family. I mean, I used to be in a French school when I was in Egypt. So moving to England, I couldn't actually speak English at all. I remember, like, it was really hard for me to make friends because I couldn't speak the language. I couldn't interact with people. I couldn't understand anything they said. I remember just sitting in the classroom, not understanding a single word. So it was definitely a challenging. But just time. But like, my English started to get better a bit. And I think I took extra English classes, but it was still hard. The culture was different. Everything was different. I had no family. My mom came with me. She visited. She visited. She used to visit me and my brother quite a lot. But apart from that, it was just hard. Leaving all my family. So it was, everything was just hard at the beginning. But I kind of got better and better and better, and I actually started to even enjoy staying in England. And here I am now, staying in Bristol, and I'm really enjoying it. I think now whenever I go back to Egypt, I feel like I visit Egypt, but I'm based here now, and I'm enjoying it, and I have a lot of friends here. And
who was your junior nemesis growing up on court?
was Abulgar, because we played the 2 World Junior final. The 2 World Juniors that I won, I played him in the final in both occasions. I also played him in the final of the British under 17, British under 19. So I think he was my main rival in the juniors. But I think overall we had a pretty strong generation. Mazin was from Mazin Hisham, Faris, Mahesh, Tamimi. We had a lot of players. It was quite a strong generation. Where most of us have already made it to the top 20. 5 of us already made it to the top 20, and still, there's a couple of players who I'm sure they're going to make it to the top 20 and top 10. So my generation was a pretty good generation.
What would you tell a junior Marwan now if you had the opportunity?
I would say enjoy it. Enjoy the hard work, because you can't just enjoy it for the sake of it. I mean, hard work is very important, but I think it's all about. I remember when I used to get on court with Jonah, and he used to kind of kill me with the ghosting sessions. He would always tell me to smile, do the hard work, and if you enjoy what you're good at. And I think it makes it makes a huge difference. I think what made the difference, what made the transition easier for me is to the senior, to the professional. I think because I kind of started to enjoy just being on tour, just enjoying the fact that being on tour and that we have that special life, that unique life, is quite enjoyable. So, and it doesn't last for long. It's quite short. So just you try to enjoy it as much as possible.
If you took the same junior and dropped them in the Egyptian setup versus the English setup, which one would make them a better player?
I think the balance. I think by being having a bit of both. So you talk about the Egyptian setup and the English setup.
Mm-hmm. In terms of
I mean,
the quality of training, quality of squash, who if you put a junior in that position, two juniors in that position, which junior would you think would come out
I
on top
mean,
and
I
excel
mean,
further than the
I,
other?
I wouldn't look at it this way. I think I was. I mean, yes, I did play for Egypt, but I was still training in England all my life. You know, like pretty much most of my squash career. You know, same thing for my brother. So
Mm.
I don't know whether you would call us an Egyptian product or an English product, but at the end of the day, I think we lived here and we had a success. We both had successful junior career. You look at this player like Sam Todd as well, who's potentially could win the next World Junior. So I think I don't think we looking at it this way. That I think Egypt, of course, been very successful in squash, but I think every country has its own time. I think England, I don't know, 10 years ago they had 5 players inside the top 10. 20 years ago, Pakistan were in exactly the same position. Australia was in the same position. Now it's our
Yeah.
time, maybe, but who knows what happens in 10, 15 years. I think Egypt will dominate for some time, for a long time, actually. I think they will dominate for a long time, but I think, you know, probably for the next 15 years, but then it's just, this is just the time where Egypt is just producing a lot of players, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think Egypt is producing so many good players? Is it simply quality of coaching, or what do you think?
I think it all starts from the players, well, I mean, of course, the setup helps you. I mean, whenever I go back to Egypt, the intensity that we have, I don't think it happens anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
If I go back to Egypt, I would be playing a practice match with intensity every single day, and we will all be playing each other. I could have 1 week of playing Ali, Mazin, Tariq, Abulghar. I could literally have 1 week of 4 matches that tough. So and the intensity is high, and then you have your coach there, and then you do your fitness. I mean, it's such. I mean, we train a lot. The intensity of training in Egypt is so different than the intensity here. I've seen players training here, and it's very good, of course. But if I compare it to Egypt, I mean, the intensity in Egypt is just so different. It's just so different, and it's on a daily basis as well.
Mm. And why do you think that is so different? Why?
I mean, we've always. I mean, me coming up, for example, I've had someone like Shabana being a world champion, being a world number one. So looked at him, and he was my role model coming up.
Mm.
And when I looked at him, I just wanted to be like him. And it's just not me who had that thought or had that feeling. I'm pretty sure most of the juniors. And then we had Rami, and then we had Arwish, and then we had my brother. So I think we always have a player to follow. We have a player that we want to be like. So I remember my generation, for example, we've had 4 players who've made it to the top 10. The generation before me, they had 2 players that got to. They've had 3 players that got to world number one. They have my brother Ali, Gawad, 3 players that got to world number one.
Mm.
So I mean, now each generation they don't have one good player. Look at England. Of course, they have Sam Todd, but who else apart from Sam? We've had more than one player each generation. And I think that's what makes a difference.
Now moving away from your junior career and more on the professional side from making that transition, did you have any reservations about becoming a professional?
I think when I moved to England, I wanted to play PI. I wanted to go pro, and especially when I mean, I would say, yeah, maybe when I moved to England, I think the decision was clear for me. I wanted to go pro. I wanted to enjoy the pro life. I've seen my brother living it and enjoying it and being very successful at it. So I probably wanted to have this similar life, and kind of enjoy it as well.
Mm.
I think education was very important when I was young as well. But I have chosen to go on the professional, and I'm quite enjoying it. I've quite enjoyed it, to be honest. And to be honest, we're really lucky. We're very lucky just to have this kind of life. And you get to play in a perfect venue, Tournament of Champion in Grand Central. You play by in the Grand Central Station. It's such a great venue. So it's just so lucky, and that's what you have to remind yourself, and the career is so short. It's not a long career. I'm 27 in a couple of months, and probably what have, I don't know, 8 years left in my career, 7 years left in my career, and it goes so fast. We've been in quarantine for 1 month. It went so fast.
Yeah.
I think it went fast. I don't know.
Yeah. Every day
So
just goes
it's
like that when you're not occupied on things and don't have a
exactly,
routine.
exactly.
It goes like that.
I, it's good. Yeah, yeah. Of course, my ambition is to get to world number one day, win a world championship, win a few World Series event. But and I'm gonna, I work hard on a daily basis to achieve that. But maybe if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But I just want to enjoy the journey and make the most out of it.
What was your breakthrough tournament?
Good question. I've had few actually. I've had a few. My breakthrough event. I mean, I would say. I mean, I've reached the quarterfinal of a World Series event when I was 18, and that was in Grand Central Station.
Hmm.
I think that was kind of a breakthrough. I reached the last 16 of the World Championship when I was 17.
Hmm.
I think that was a kind of a breakthrough as well. I've beaten my brother. First time I beat my brother in Chicago, I felt that was a different kind of breakthrough, just beating my brother for the first time ever.
Hmm.
So that was also a different breakthrough. Actually, and at that event, I ended up reaching my first World Series final. So that was a different kind of breakthrough. I think each phase of the ranking
Yeah.
has a different breakthrough.
There's a couple.
Winning a World Series is a breakthrough. Reaching a World Championship final is a breakthrough. It's just a different kind of breakthrough. I mean, I remember beating Selby when I was 17. Selby was world number 12 at the time.
Hmm.
I remember beating Tom Richard. He was as well world number 12 or world number 13. Beating a top 10 player for the first time is a different breakthrough. Getting inside the top 10 is a breakthrough. Getting inside the top 20 is a breakthrough. It's just
Yeah.
every time you achieve something new is a breakthrough, I think, in a way. Um, yeah, I remember the day I got to the top 20. I was in Egypt actually, and I remember it was a dream come true for you. For me, it was a dream come true. It's just getting inside the top 20. But as a human being, you always want more. You always want something. Like I thought, okay, like if I go to the top 20, that would be a dream come true, and I can tell my kids about it, and I can tell, it's something that I would remember for the rest of my life. Few months later or a year later, I was inside the top 10. And then I still wanted more, and then I got to the top 8, and then you get to the top 5, and then I got to world number 3, and it's just you always want more and more and more, and of course when I was world number 3 and still now, your ambition is to get to world number 1. There is nothing, but if I get back to world number 3, it's not going to be something new for me. The thing is, like, if I play a World Series event, if I won it before, then every single World Series event I play, I want to win. You can't be satisfied with less than what you had before. So you always want more and more and more. If I get to world number 2, I will feel okay. This is a new thing to me, and I will enjoy it. And then my next step will be get to world number 1. It's just every step is important. Everything new is important for you.
On you being a squash player, what's been the biggest achievement in your career so far?
My biggest achievement is winning my first World Series in Algona a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think reaching the World Championship final with playing my brother in the World Championship final, of course, was a dream come true. I would say winning two World Juniors event, it was tough, especially winning that second one. I remember I've had to deal with so much pressure. Just defending the title is not easy. So I think winning, especially my second World Juniors, I would say that was one of my highlights. Being part of the Egyptian team 2 years ago and winning the World Teams event, just getting to World number 3 as well, of course, is a massive achievement. But hopefully I can achieve more than what I want.
What one squash match do you think you played your best squash, close to perfection?
I played which I thought, wow. Well, I mean, I didn't think wow, but I meant I played really good squash. When I beat Ali in Chicago,
Yeah.
tactically it was good. I was quite pleased with how I won that match. Uh, I actually beat my brother in El Gona in 24 minutes before,
Mm.
and my brother didn't play well in that match, but I played really well. Even that every time he had a chance to get in the match,
Mm.
I was just playing so well. In that tournament, to be honest, I played really well. I beat Cameron Pili 3-love,
Mm.
and Omar Mossad 3-love, and then I beat my brother 3-love, but then I lost to Gautier. But in that tournament, in those first three matches specifically, some of the scores that I played, I was like, yeah, I'm not a bad squash player. And sometimes you just think you played really well today. And sometimes you don't play well, and sometimes your opponent give you a squash lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So it does happen, I played, to be honest, my brother in Elgona as well. I beat my brother twice in Elgona. The first time was in 24 minutes. The second time was a 5 game. I beat him 3-2, and it was quite a tough match physically. I was quite pleased with the way I pushed physically myself.
Mm-hmm. What's been your hardest squash match mentally?
Beating my brother for the first time was really hard mentally,
Mm-hmm. In what way?
because it took so much from me mentally.
Mm.
Beating my brother in the World Championship a few months ago, it was hard mentally, not physically actually. Physically, I was fine the next day. Mentally, it's the thing is when I play my brother, it takes so much emotions out of me.
Mm.
It takes so much from me mentally, and especially the emotion. It's the emotion that we go through before the match, during the match, and after the match. You
Mm.
have. I always feel something different before I play him. I
Mm.
always feel something different while I'm playing him, and the same thing after the match. It's always so. It's a match that takes a bit out of me. It takes a lot out of me. Even if I beat him, I mean, the time that I beat him easily, it was still something that takes so much from you. Because there's so much emotions.
Mm. And do your nerves still get to you when you play your brother, or because you're playing your brother, they're not there as much?
They do get to
Mm.
you. They have. I mean, the thing is now because we play each other so many times, we kind of know what to expect. We kind of know to expect the emotion that we're gonna feel before and during and after,
Mm.
and you just have to accept it. And you just have to go through it. It's just. And to be honest, as much as it's a competition between both of us, but it's kind of enjoyable. I mean, at the end of the day, we're two brothers. We're living the same kind of life. We're both successful, and we're just lucky, like, to be competing against each other. It's quite hard, but it's kind of an experience in its own way. Like, one day I'll tell my kids, I played a world championship final. I played the biggest match of the year against my brother, and it was an experience, and it's an experience. It's a unique experience that not a lot of people go through.
Do squash players give each other a bit of banter on court, like the odd whisper in the ear, or the little wind
Not the
up?
whispering, not the whispering in the ear, no. But apart from that, no. I mean, yeah, it's part of the game, isn't it? It's part of the game, and it is a good part of the. I mean, it's a good side of the game. I think I enjoy it. People enjoy it. Fans enjoy it. And it's just a part of the game. It's part of the sport, really. I mean, every sport has its own things, right? I mean, what sport doesn't have that kind of things? But it's all for fun
Mm. What types
for
of,
me.
what types of things might be said,
I mean,
or what
I
types of
don't
things
know.
might you hear?
Or what you do. I don't know. I mean, every player has his own thing. Some players, I don't know, they ask for the court to be cleaned. Some players, I mean, me and my brother, we wind each other up big time on court. And the thing is, people don't really understand it because it's probably, I don't know, like, it's just me and my brother, we kind of have our own fun on court when we play each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's nice. It's different. It's different. Sometimes we go too far. Sometimes we don't. But it's different.
What's your signature shot?
I think my length game is pretty strong. I think I have a very strong. I think on my day, if I'm playing Good squash. I think I can play very good length game. I think that's my strong area.
What level of men's player would the women world number one Rahima Walili currently be?
In the men's,
Mm-hmm.
I would say outside top 200 maybe. The level is way different.
Mm-hmm.
The level, everything is just different. The men's game is just way different, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's way stronger, I think, and it's just so strong. I mean, it's just so strong. I mean, I think in the PSA we have about 700 men's player, and I think the women game they have like 200 players. So I think, I mean, it's just we're talking about two different games, you know.
Now, moving away from squash and talking about you more and your personality, if you could invite 3 people to a dinner party, past or present, who would they be and why?
Not for a drink, just for a dinner.
3 people. If you could sit down with 3 people, anyone in the world who's really inspired you, who would they be?
LeBron James, maybe. Yeah, that's one.
Yeah.
I like NBA. I know I like the way he plays as well. So
Yeah.
that's one person. I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I watched a lot of his movies. I haven't had dinner with you or something before, so maybe I'll go for you.
Okay, cool. That's great. If you were an animal, what animal would you be? And why?
I'll be a tiger. I just watched Tiger Kings and I quite like tigers, so I'll go for a tiger.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Cheeky, very kind though. Clever, of course. Clever.
Okay.
Very clever.
Cool. If you were in charge of the PSA for a day, what changes would you make in the men's game?
Would have run it completely different, to be honest, than what it is. I think the prize money should be more. I think we should have more press conference than what we currently have, because I think the fans need to hear what the players are saying, and I think the players need to be marketed way better than what it is at the moment. I think the prize money of the World Series event needs to be a bit higher than what we have right now, because I think players outside top 50 really do struggle, you know. They can't really make a living out of the sport. Need better management, better marketing. I think we need more exposure for the sport, you know, way more. Olympics as well is a big deal, and we're not really an Olympic sport yet, and I'm not sure. I think some of the focus needs to be put into this as well. Need to have more competitions as well, like in different like different places as well. Like it would be good to have the Australian Open back. It would be good to have a big event in India, a big event in Singapore. We don't really feel like we always go to the same places. You know, we have like 4 World Series event in Egypt. Like it's too much. You know, we have a lot of events in the US. We need more somewhere else. We don't have any World Series event in Europe apart from the British Open.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good to have. We need a businessman in the PSA. All the people that are running the PSA. We have like Alex Goffley, Beachel as 2 former squash players. Which is, they've done a good job, but we need a businessman vision inside. We need somebody not to come from a squash background. At the end of the day, I don't see myself finishing my squash career tomorrow and running the PSA. I don't have the experience of running something like the PSA. So we need as of course it's good to have Alex and Lee, but we also need somebody with a businessman idea and is willing to give a lot of things to the sport, a lot of ideas to the sport.
Do you think if refs had played the game to a high level, they would make the same decisions?
Not a chance. Not a chance. No, there are things, and especially playing the players. Every player has its own, like for example, I would know how to get a stroke or to get a cheap let or a cheap stroke. We know the tricks. We know the game. And I think if the referees played the players, they would know exactly what are they trying to do, what are they trying to achieve from what they're doing. And I think, it would have been completely different. Think about it. Every time they try to come up with new rules, and they end up complicating the referees. They complicate the fans, and they complicate the players. So actually, everyone gets complicated. I think. I mean, I got to the point that sometimes you don't even know what decision you could get. And I think players, they just want consistent. Like, I don't mind having a bad referee refereeing my match, but I just don't mind him being consistently bad with the decision. At least I know what I'm gonna understand, what will happen today. But if you're just so inconsistent with the decision, then that's a problem I have.
Who is the most famous person in your contacts?
I don't have somebody in my contact, but I've met Mo Salah a couple of times. I went to watch the Liverpool matches, and I've actually watched the Liverpool-Barcelona match, the 4-0 match. I was there in Anfield watching the match, and it was a great atmosphere.
If you could take one component from the top players in the game, what would you take from who? Forehand, backhand, serve, momentum, mentality, nicks, or winners?
Take the mentality of my brother. I will take the Tariq speed, Gawad's how he reads the game, James's accuracy, for sure.
Now we move on to the quickfire round. So you can answer yes, no, or no comment if you don't want to answer. Alright? Have you ever faked an injury?
No.
Have you ever given up in a match?
Yes.
Have you ever hoped someone loses a match so you don't have to play them in the next round?
Yes.
Do you think you will get to world number 1?
Yes. Actually, those fire questions, I really like them. It's quite good. I like them.
Okay. So, a similar thing now. Moving away from the quickfire questions, but we're doing the similar thing with squash players. So, I'm going to give you 5 squash player names, and you give me one word to describe them. Ali Farag.
Annoying. He gets everything back. He gets everything back, and it gets to the point that it's annoying. It's just so annoying. You play a very good shot, but then he ends up getting it, and then plays a better shot than the shot you played.
Asal.
Very mature for his age. Very clever on court for his age.
Shabana.
I call him the maestro, so I'll say the maestro.
James Woolstrop.
Always very quiet during events. He's always by himself. He's always doing his own thing.
Interesting.
But yeah, he's always reading his own book, writing his own things. He's always by himself. Very quiet.
Finally, of course, Mohamed Shorbagy.
I was wondering when you were going to say his name. He's solid. Very, very.
When you say solid,
very
what
hard.
do you mean?
On court. I'm talking about the squash court. I've never played someone as mentally the way he plays the game and the way he understands the game is completely different than anyone I've seen. I've played a lot of good players. I played Rami, I played Shabana, I played Darwish, I played Gauthier, Nick, I played players that got to world number 1, a lot of players. But nothing was like him, I'm not saying that because he's my brother, actually. I'm just saying that because it's just so hard to break, so hard to beat, so hard to just compete against.
If you could accidentally hit one player with a squash ball, which player would it be, and why?
My brother.
That's a safe answer.
It's such a safe answer because he's not gonna be so angry with me at the end of the day.
What's one question you would like to ask me?
Have you enjoyed your interview?
It's been very entertaining. That's the end of the interview, everyone. Thanks so much for everyone watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below on why you enjoyed the video. And thanks so much, Marwan, for joining me in this interview.
Thanks, Archie. Cheers, my friend.